Signing day is less than 24 hours away. This man, Steve Wiltfong, is already in Nashville. We're gearing up for tomorrow's show. He's breaking news as we speak. But, since Steve's here and the next 24 hours is going to be wild, I wanted to hit on some of the most interesting recruitments that we are watching heading into National Signing Day. So let's start with the 5 stars. It's 5-star heavy. When we talk about flips and movement on National Signing Day, Steve, we don't really normally talk so much about 5 stars, top 50 players, but that's what we're facing as we head into tomorrow. So I want to run down some of these recruitments in the top 100. Let's start with uncommitted defensive lineman Jakeem Stewart. He's set to commit tomorrow around 2 p.m. Eastern. What's the read here?
Well, he's got 4 finalists. You have LSU, the local program. Then you have Oregon, Ohio State, and USC. The on-3 RPM is on the Trojans, and I still like my prediction for Lincoln Riley and his coaching staff. USC trying to finish strong down the stretch. They have Jakeem Stewart. I have an on-3 RPM in for them to flip Alex Graham, a 4-star defensive back from Colorado. Okay. Michigan's been involved in that one. Top 100 linebacker Madden Faramo. I like USC there as I talk to you right now at 319 Central. Christian Ingram's another. USC, the on-3 RPM favorite, but that could still go South Carolina's way. Hell, Madden Faramo could go Notre Dame and Washington's way. Right. Jakeem Stewart could maybe go another way too.
LSU,
but
you think? I'm not saying it's going to go that way, but is that
of those 4 predictions, I feel the best about USC for Jakeem Stewart.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Great intel there. All right, let's move down the list to number 1 offensive tackle, David Sanders. It seems like this one has cooled a bit.
Yeah, I have not heard much on that recruitment, which makes me think status quo going into the early signing period, him putting pen to paper for the Vols, the program he's been committed to since the end of summer, took several visits to Tennessee's campus. Now, obviously, he took that trip to Ohio State. It was antenna raising, and that was a legitimate recruiting trip there. And he thought about going back up there the following weekend for the Ohio State-Michigan game, but I think that the waters have been steadied with Tennessee, and I think he puts pen to paper for the Vols. The Vols pushing for a top 10 class. You have Isaiah Campbell out there in play. They've been trying to work on Jaden Perlotti all fall. Linebacker committed to USC, and then Timothy Merritt. Chad Sims and I predicted safety Timothy Merritt out of Alabama to flip from Miami to the Vols. So a lot happening for the checkered orange going into tomorrow. They're trying to hang on to Onis Conan-Banny. That's one that's trending towards Florida. But Tennessee has a chance to have a really strong day on Wednesday.
And I think it starts with holding on to David Sanders. All right, moving down, still staying inside the top 32, we got a DB on Flip Watch. That's Naeem Offord, the number 1 player in the state of Alabama, is committed to Ohio State, and we've been watching this one for the entire duration of the season, but now it comes down to one day, and that day is tomorrow. What's going to happen?
Well, the on-3 RPM's on Auburn to flip Naeem Offord and keep him home. He's been to 4 games on the Plains this year, been up to practice. Now, it's obviously convenient for him to get there. He took a late official visit to Florida. I think the Gators gave him a lot to think about. He was back at Ohio State last weekend. Oregon has been in the equation. Could there be a surprise outside of Auburn for Naeem Offord? Crazier things have happened in our time doing this job, but the on-3 RPM is on Auburn for Naeem Offord as they try and put the finishing touches on a potential top 5 recruiting class. Top 10 last year, already top 10 in 2026, so Hugh Freeze and his staff getting it done.
Yeah, they're going to have a big day one way or another, but Naeem Offord would kind of be the cherry on top of that class. All right, moving on down, 5-star offensive tackle Michael Fasusi, another one of these 5-star offensive linemen. We usually aren't talking 5-star offensive lineman moving around this much, but here we are, Michael Fasusi. He's committed to Oklahoma, but he's taken 2 visits at the end of this recruitment to Texas A&M and Texas. What do you think about Michael Fasusi, OU, the in-state teams? Where's this one going?
Well, I think the intel has favored him sticking with Oklahoma, but nobody would be surprised if he flipped to the Longhorns or Texas A&M. I think that there is some optimism around both those in-state programs that they can get it done and flip Michael Fasusi down the stretch. Texas, they're in the equation to finish with the number 1 class in the country. They're sitting at number 3 right now after flipping Cade Phillips from LSU. They got Michael Fasusi out there in play right now. Michael Terry, they're still swinging at Justice Terry, 5-star defensive lineman that's projected to Georgia, but he's been giving a lot of programs reasons to feel optimistic, from Auburn to Texas, USC trying to battle back with Justice Terry. So I know I just left out a couple guys. The Longhorns are in on down the stretch, but they're a team that could push their way up to the top of the standings tomorrow if they hit a home run.
Yeah, we didn't have Michael Terry on this list, but we should have Michael Terry on this list. So let's talk about him right now. Michael Terry, really down to 2 teams, Nebraska and Texas. Do you think Michael Terry is, I mean, he's Texas's to lose heading into signing day?
Well, that's the on 3 RPM prediction, but Nebraska is one of those programs that can scare you if they're hanging around late in the cycle.
That's just what they've done with this recruitment.
He's been up to Lincoln a few times and has a really good relationship with Coach Rule, Coach McGuire, and that coaching staff, and loved his time in Lincoln. I am still riding with Texas at 3:24 p.m. Central Time, but Nebraska's in the thick of that one.
All right, let's go back to these 5-star offensive linemen. This one is Solomon Thomas. He's from Jacksonville, committed to FSU. FSU doesn't have an offensive line coach. They just hired a new OC. You know, things are kind of up in the air in Tallahassee, but Solomon Thomas is also hearing from LSU and UF. Are those the 2 biggest competition for Florida State heading into tomorrow?
To my knowledge, absolutely, yes. And depending on who you talk to, you get a different answer. My take on it when I add it all up is I think LSU's got a chance here. You know, you look at Brian Kelly and his program historically. The offensive line has always been the focal point of his football team. Some of the guys that he's helped put into the NFL, the Zach Martins, the Quentin Nelsons, the Ronnie Stanleys, those guys are all pros, some of the best. And then you even got other guys like McGlinchey. Then you look at LSU's offensive line. It's been one of the best in the SEC, a lot of pro prospects. He's felt that. He's got a great relationship with Coach Davis. And look, if you're one of the 3 schools that we're talking about with Solomon Thomas at the end of the cycle, that means you have some infrastructure and resources to still be in the game at the end in this new era of recruiting. I could see him sticking and staying closer to home. Going to
out so far.
Yep. And then certainly the Gators are hot on the trail, and you don't rule them out with anybody with the heater that they're on right now. But LSU probably has the edge and the buzz that I've been picking up.
Okay, yeah. And Solomon Thomas from Jacksonville. We're seeing a big migration of great prospects from Jacksonville to UF, but we'll see what happens here. This one is truly up in the air. All right, we hit on Isaiah Campbell. He's a top 50 prospect.
We like the balls.
We do, and he's going to be committing right here on this channel. So like and subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel, because Isaiah Campbell is going to be coming off the board at 4:30 Eastern. So lock in for that. Like he said, we're leaning Tennessee, but could go either way. Let's move on to Nathaniel Wusu Boateng. He just made an announcement that he's going to make his announcement on signing day on ESPN. I believe that's 1 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, Chad Simmons has been our lead reporter on Nathaniel Wusu Boateng. We both log an On3 RPM today in favor of the Maize and Blue, the Michigan Wolverines. It's already been a big day for Sharon Moore and company. They flipped Nate Marshall from Auburn. His recruitment comes full circle. He was committed to Michigan in the spring, flips to Auburn in the summer. He's back with Michigan. They have the nation's number 7 class in the country. Owusu Boateng, they're battling Colorado down the stretch. This one looks like it's going to come up in a winged helmet. And then you go out there and you get the Moton kid out of Kentucky. You're still recruiting 5-star offensive tackle Ty Haywood, who says he's not going to sign early. And Michigan's got a chance to creep into the top 5 perhaps at the end of the cycle.
I got a lot of Michigan fans in my mentions. Anytime we're talking Michigan and kind of what the ceiling is, I get a lot of fans mentioning Isaiah Gibson. Why are Michigan fans mentioning Isaiah Gibson to me so much?
Well, a little bit of social media.
I know he okay, so here's where I think it comes from.
He gave some emojis.
Put out a tweet about being re-offered by Michigan. About it was in the wake of the Bryce Underwood thing when Michigan had a ton of momentum. But I haven't really seen anything else besides that. Is that like what Michigan fans are hanging on to right now?
I think he gave some emojis. I don't speak emojis, so I never know. Even people in this company will send some emojis, or college coaches send emojis. I'm like, dude, you are 52 years old. I don't know what that means. But they have to speak emoji in their locker room, I guess.
I guess so. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see. You know, I think Michigan is just one of those teams where nothing's off the table right now when it comes to signing day, but I think that would be a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, I think Michigan's got a lot going for it right now, a coaching staff that people believe in, and a great culture, and certainly they're the defending national champs and have had a hell of a run. They just beat Ohio State. They land Bryce Underwood. This class has got some excitement to it. So the buzz around the big house is real.
It is real. And like we talked about on the Wiltfong Whip Round, it's not going away. We expect to cover Michigan recruiting like this heading into the 2026 cycle. We'll talk Michigan later. I want to talk one more top 100 prospect, and this is Laganza Shady Hayward. He came off of a Tennessee commitment this week, so he reopens things. To me, it looks like Georgia or Florida. Is Tennessee even hanging around in this one, or is it off the table?
I mean, I'm hearing more smoke about Florida and Georgia here at the end of the cycle, and the Gators look like the program to beat right now. But Laganza Hayward's kind of been a fluid recruitment. He was committed to Tennessee, or no, he was not committed to Tennessee. He was a Tennessee lean going into his official visits in the summer. We liked the Vols. He took that first trip to Georgia, and there was like a lot of Georgia. Exactly right. And then each official visit, there was a little bit of smoke, but Tennessee was kind of where the on-3 RPM stayed consistent, and he eventually landed with the Vols. And I was pretty surprised when he decommitted. I didn't see that coming. But ever since it did come, you know, I think the intel is with Florida. And as the Gators try and push into the top 10, they have the number 11 class right now, I believe. Shady Hayward is someone that they're in on, and he is a fantastic prospect.
Yeah, that'd be a huge get for them. Last year, you know, Florida was kind of leaking at the end. They lost Xavier Filsaime, their top-end safety. They were losing guys kind of left and right. Now this year, it's the exact opposite. Slow start for the Gators, but boy, when we talk Michigan in terms of being a hot team, you got to put Florida, you got to put Auburn right there. I mean, Florida Gators really turned it around. Steve, tomorrow is going to be crazy. So we are going to be sitting at this desk. Well, you're going to be over there with Chad Simmons. We're going to have Chad Simmons here with Steve. I'm going to be with JD Piquel at the desk. We're going to have them run an intel on the side, and it is going to be an action-packed show. We're going to hop on at 11 a.m. Eastern time, and the show's going to probably go for about 4 hours. It's going to be loaded. There's going to be a ton of movement tomorrow. We're going to have a blast, Steve.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. It's going to be a late night, and we'll see you guys back here on the On3 Recruits channel tomorrow.